officially open the meeting of the Smith Ranch Home Board of Directors at 2 p.m. The first thing is, you'll notice that Dean's not here. Dean sent me a note, and I'm going to be reading throughout the meeting on some comments she has on some of the action items. But first of all, she says, since I will be sailing down the Rhine, leaving on the 22nd, I will miss the meeting. So everybody think about Dean sailing down the Rhine. I want to start off by calling the meeting to order. And Tom will take us through what we call the consent calendar. The consent calendar just moves us a little faster on items that don't need any, if any, discussion. So Tom?
Okay. There are three consent items today.
I don't think you're...
I tried to turn on it.
None of us are very technologically competent.
So there are three items in the consent agenda. One is the approval of the various board meetings. One was on May 27, the executive session. One was on May 27, the open session, and then a special executive session on June 2. And I'll describe the highlights when the comments come in. Duty inspect was performed as of June 20, no problems. The third item is the corporate credit card for the new finance manager, Daria Carrillo. You'll meet today, and it's a credit card for up to $5,000, which is standard for that position. Now, what were the highlights of the meetings? In the executive session in the morning of the 27th, we met again with the owner's rep on the mitigation problems we've had. And the good news is that we are within budget. We are within budget, and we really only have the garage to do next as far as a substantive issue. There's some more trenching that needs to be done. We met with the owner's rep again today. He reaffirmed that statement that we're within budget and that the landscaping around the villas that were impacted will commence shortly. Both tenants, but both residents have moved in, and I'm told they're pleased with the work that had been done. Now, what happened on the June 2 special emergency session? As you're well aware, the fire monitoring system failed, as did the smoke detectors. So we approved the new system for fire monitoring and smoke detection for a total cost of approximately $335,000, which will come out of reserves. So with that, I move the adoption of the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the consent calendar? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, Gary will take us through a lot of different treasure type items.
You gotta do
He's got several.
So I'm not allowed to touch this, right?
Don't close it.
So now is the treasurer's report, which we now are calling the reconstruction update and treasurer's report. So the first page is the reconstruction report. You can see down at the bottom here, we still have $1,281,000 out of the $4.2 million that the special contribution, special assessments. We don't have a lot of expenses so far in June. So the balance as of today is not too much different from that, maybe 10,000 less. So we got quasi-commitment from the supervisor of the project that we will be finished for sure by the end of the year. And we're certainly well over 90% finished right now. So you'll be hearing more as the year goes on, but we'll be getting closer and closer to the final. So we'll go on to the cash flow. Now this is going to be different looking to you. You're thinking, what the heck's going on here? You see the number here, 1,263,000. Well, most of that is the funds we got from the government for our emergency, for during COVID, for our keeping our payroll going during COVID. And we got a couple $100,000 in April, or in May, and then the rest in April, and then the rest in May. So I think the best way to look at this is to start with $1,228,000, then subtract the ERC payment that came in during May, which was most of what we got. And then you'll see the traditional number at the bottom, 141,000 cash at the end from operations at the end of the month, even though our actual cash was $1,263,000. So if you look at the next page, you'll see that without the ERC money, oh,
Touch the computer, Gary?
no, it's showing up here. Let's see.
Okay.
There, we got it now. You probably can't even see this down at the bottom, can anybody see this line down here? It's pretty far down. So this is just showing the same chart you just saw, but without the reconstruction money, without the ERC money in it. And we ended up the month 44,000 cash, 44,000 net revenue for the month, which was 11,000 below budget, which is pretty close to being on budget when you look at the total number involved. Then we go on to the next page. So this is looking at the operations excluding dining. Here again, you see that huge number up there, which is mostly the ERC contribution. I won't spend a lot of time on this page because we want to really talk about operations. So we'll go on to the next page. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we had the page without the ERC in it. Oh, okay. Yeah, there it is, right there. So if you have, without the ERC, you'll see these numbers don't have all that large number in them. And you can see that we're just a little bit, pretty much right on budget for the month. And $11,000 at the bottom line down there, under budget. Then if you add dining to the dining is even also very close to budget. We have one little increase here in the May census 304 people versus 301, which offset some lower than revenue items with regard to the bar service and guest menus. When we do the budget for next year, I think we're going to have to be more realistic about the bar revenue. We're just getting a lot less liquor being sold this year than we had anticipated. But I guess that's a good thing too, isn't it? So you'll see that for the month, we're $10,000 to the positive, 14,000 positive to budget. So that's a very good month result for dining. So then we combine the two. First, I'm going to show it without the ERC money. This is like a normal month. And you can see very close to budget for operations, very close to budget for dining. And the net revenue, extremely close to budget. In fact, you could say with the amount of money that we're dealing with here, that's just about being on budget. And then, if you look at the actual numbers, you can see this includes ERC money in it, and so that's what we actually are going to show in our financial statement. And I wanted to show it with it and without it, so you'll see the effect that was having on our financial statement. And for those who maybe weren't here during the town hall, I think we all want to express a debt of gratitude again to our guru on the ERC. Would you please stand up, Cliff? Once again, Cliff Shilroy, who made all this happen. Oh, got color, huh? All right. So this is looking, up to now we were looking at just the month. Now we're looking at the year to date. So you'll see January, February, March, April, May. And you'll see over here, we brought in 128,000 of ERC money in April and 1,122,000 in May. And that's it, that's all of it. And you'll see the numbers showing up over here. So if you subtract this ERC money out of it, we're 215,000 positive through the end of May, which is pretty close to being on budget. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time going into variances because, like I say, we're pretty close to being on budget. Everything is pretty much going like clockwork. We have taken the $1 million out of that $1.2 million ERC money and put it into a special account with Raymond James to get the most interest we can out of it. And it's going to be there earning interest until the board decides, after hearing from all of you that want to make their opinion known, what we're going to end up doing with that money and over what time frame. But for now, it's just being invested in safe securities. And I think that's pretty much it. Do you anybody have any questions, considering this was a pretty complicated month? Okay.
Thank you, Gary. I guess go on with the audit. We'll do that from sitting down. Okay.
me start by making the motion. I move that the board approve or accept the independent audit of Smith Ranch Homes for the year 2024.
Okay. It's been moved. Do I hear a second? Moved and seconded that we accept the audit as submitted to us by the audit firm. And is there any discussion on the audit? You want to say anything about it, Gary?
Yeah, I'll make a few comments. This is the second year in a row that we haven't had the audit completed within the stipulated 120 days after the end of the year, which is December 31st. We did better this year than last year, but still, we don't feel satisfied until we get the audit, a clean audit in within 120 days, and we're going to certainly work toward that next year. Here again, Cliff had a lot to do with getting some final adjustments made to the audit, correcting the auditor, you might say, and that did take some time, but we're pleased with the result. We have an audit that we can be confident that is correct and reflects from the independent auditor our financial statement, and is a very clean, accepted audit. So I'll move. I would like to. If there are no other questions, we just move to
accept the
Yeah.
audit. It's been moved that we, Smith Ranch Home, accepts the audit report. Do I hear a second?
We already
Yeah,
To accept the
I did second.
This is just the commentary.
Okay. All in favor?
Uh,
Any opposed? The audit is accepted.
I have one other proposal. The Finance Committee has forwarded a recommendation to the board to create an audit search firm subcommittee consisting of Garrett Scholes, Cliff Shilroy, and Daria Carrero to source a new audit and tax preparation firm for the next audit cycle.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on that?
I pointed out just a few minutes ago that we're not happy with the fact that we've been late on our audit for the last 2 years. It's probably more a question of the auditing firm not being well designed for association as large as ours. A lot of homeowner associations are smaller than we are. They don't have meals and all that, and their budgets are a lot less. And those kind of audits, you can run through those pretty quickly as an auditor. And that's what this audit firm we've been using has been used to doing. So we feel that we need to have a more specialized firm that is comfortable dealing with a large client such as ourselves. So we're going to take this opportunity to go out and see what is out there as a substitute auditor.
We, as he said, we're going to be forming a small group to investigate what other options we have as far as an auditor is concerned. The auditor did a good job, didn't he, Cliff, of doing the audit, but it's just the fact that for 2 years in a row we've been late in getting our information back, so we're not happy with that at all. So, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of forming the small group?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Gary again.
Next topic is an updating of our bank and check signing policy. So we have in existence right now a signature requirement that all checks other than payroll checks over $5,000, over $2,500 be signed by an officer, by two officers, or an officer of the board. And that was last revised in the year 2000, so that's 25 years ago. So given inflation being what it is, we're recommending that it be increased from $2,500 to $5,000 for an officer's signature. We think it's just keeping up with the times, it isn't really changing anything. I also want to mention that we have a policy here that all checks are reviewed 3 times before they go out. By a supervisor, by the general manager or financial manager, and by a board officer. So, notwithstanding that we're going to increase the signing limit from 2,500 to 5,000, we're still going to have that 3-person review of all checks. So we feel like we're still very comfortable in terms of reviewing payments before they go out.
I have a motion that we increase the check signing program from $2,500 to $5,000. Nobody wants to make a motion?
I so move.
Okay. Do I have a second? And Karen seconds. We're finally moving that policy into the 21st century, from 2000 to 2025. Do I hear any further discussion from a board member?
Actually, I just have one other thing. We're designating that the signature be by an officer of the board for the signatures as opposed to a member of the board. It turns out that you can be a board officer without being a board member, and we have one right now, as a matter of fact. Cliff Shilroy is assistant treasurer of the association. And so he is also eligible to sign for these checks, in addition to helping with the review process that we do every month. I just want to mention that was a slight deviation from what we've had before.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of this action item? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And we do have a quorum here, by the way, even though we don't have Dean around. Okay, we're going to move. We got 3 reserve action items, and I've asked Scott to handle those for us.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Cliff, I see you raising your hand. I'll jump to you in a quick minute. I'm not sure if I'm being hazed or not, but when I looked at the microphone setup, I realized I may be hunched over a little bit here today. So I don't know who this one is dedicated for, but I'm going to work with this one, Gary. It's all right. It may be a workers' comp claim, though. We don't know. Cliff, you raised your hand. Did you want to say something?
If I may,
Wait for the microphone coming.
I just wanted to add a comment on the audit. The report will be in everybody's cubby here soon. There will be a letter from Gary outlining some things. And if anybody has a question on the audit, please give me a jingle and I'll try to answer them. But I would, if you look through it, I direct your attention to footnotes 5 and 6. They are pretty important for you to look at. You might not understand them, but they're pretty important. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Cliff.
Great, and for those very eager to see the audit, they're actually going to be in your box this afternoon. So buckle up and settle in tonight with a nice audit review and Cliff here. I did also want to point out, Gary, you've been a treasurer for 3 years now? Is that?
I think so.
Okay. It's not easy to be the treasurer at Smith Ranch Homes. There's a lot going on in and out. And you'll hear Cliff's name, you'll hear my name, you'll hear a new name like Daria's name. I just hope we could maybe give Gary a round of applause for all the time that he puts into this. Now, sometimes it always sounds like Gary's yelling at me, but he's not yelling at me. That's what I've learned over the years. Gary, it's been a pleasure to work with you, and just thank you for all that you do here. So I do have a number of reserve action items. And the first one we're going to start off with is related to the clubhouse chiller. Up until the fire alarm system project, this was project 1A. This is now 1B. And not to hammer an old nail on this, but I think it's worthwhile to provide a little history on where we are with this clubhouse chiller. And I will drape all of this review with the fact that we've been blessed with some great weather this summer so far. We also know this weather is not going to hold the way that it's been forever. And so the temperatures will rise, and a chiller is very important for Smith Ranch Homes' clubhouse. This chiller is only related to the clubhouse. This doesn't affect your buildings. Your buildings have cooling towers to help offset the heat there. In our reserve study, we have a chiller scheduled to be replaced in 2030 at a cost of $175,000. So the good news is our chiller is in the reserves, and we have $175,000, but it's scheduled for 5 more years. Not the greatest, but that's the nature of reserves, is that we do our best to schedule when we think we need to. In 2024, one of our compressors failed, and I did a presentation at the last town hall meeting, is that every chiller, hey, thanks, Mike. All right, how does that sound? That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so a chiller has 4 compressors. In 2024, one of the compressors failed, and we approved it for the replacement. That compressor came and came and came and continued to come damaged, and so we were never able to install it. So the vendor said, you know what, we're going to order 2. One of them surely should arrive in good order, and sure enough, both of them did. So we installed that in January of this year, and unfortunately, as we were wrapping up our thermostat improvement project, the second compressor failed. And so we had one on hand and said, all right, let's put that one in there too. So we thought, all right, we've got 2 new compressors, and we have a new thermostat system, surely we're good to go. And then we found out that within compressors, there's coils. And a coil leak was identified to the tune of $78,000. So we slammed on the brakes and said, all right, let's cut bait here. We've been putting bad money after bad money. Let's put some good money in front of bad money at some point here. So we looked at replacing the entire chiller. Our contractor came back with a proposal for $170,000. We said, okay, that's within the reserve dollar amount and within a dollar amount that shows replacement might be more valuable than repair. We also recognize the last thing we want is a chiller that's not doing the job 3 years from now. So we said, thank you, contractor, but we're going to pivot to an independent engineer that knows Smith Ranch very well. And we want them to conduct their own independent review of what chiller size we should have for Smith Ranch Homes. They've been frantically working for the last couple of weeks to be able to dial in their recommendation to get in here for the board meeting today. And they're very close to their recommendation, but they're very sure that the replacement option by ASSC or contractor is the answer where we want to go. I don't want to wait another 3 weeks before I have to meet with the board again for another potential replacement approval. So what I'd like to ask for the board right now is to approve ASSC's proposal for the 90-ton chiller at a cost of $170,000 and allow me another week to be able to get concurred by Leffler Engineering for this proposal. And if it is in concurrence, then we can proceed. If not, then we will dial back and see what do we need to do to get the right chiller. The reason why we're trying to press this is that the lead time is 15 weeks to be able to get the chiller. And when you do the math, we're running out a month before we get beyond summertime. So we'd like to move forward. We've been doing our due diligence. We've had gotten a verbal, and we feel that we're right with this recommendation, but we don't have the final recommendation yet from the engineer. So I'm going to pose this to the board for any questions, but also a potential motion to approve the chiller as it's been presented to you today.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
I'll move that we approve the chiller purchase.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. So, go ahead.
Scott, do I remember correctly that the reason that we're not experiencing discomfort right now is that the chiller is working at half capacity, and when it's mild out, that's okay, but if it gets hot during the middle of the summer, that could be a problem.
Yeah, the chiller we have right now is at 100% optimal operation capacity at its 50% potential. So that's the problem, is that it's only operating 50%. They've been able to make some miracle repairs to get us to that 100% capacity of what it can provide, but anything beyond 85 degrees will start taxing the system. So we have some leeway to be able to get to 85 degrees, but when we start pushing 90, 95 for long hours of heating throughout the day, it has to take that outside temperature and cool it another 20 degrees to get to the area that we're accustomed to in the clubhouse. So we're good, but we're probably not going to be okay when the summer of October hits, when we're pushing 100 degrees, maybe late September. So we'd like to get this going ASAP to get something installed.
Hey, Jack Holm here.
Yeah.
Jack, how complicated is it to figure out how much capacity we need?
Well, you know, it's really a complicated process, but the engineering firm we've hired is looking at how it's operating today, measuring the loads, and determining the capacity that we need that way. So I think they're doing it the right way, and I think we have to wait the week and get a good number on that.
So it is a complicated,
Yeah, oh yes, yeah. I mean, I think most times you go to an engineering firm and they would quote you months and not weeks, but I think this firm knows our facility better, and they're able to do it in a quicker amount of time.
okay, thank you, Jack. Any other discussion? Gail?
I know nothing about chillers or anything like that. But my question is, how old is this chiller and how long do you expect the new chiller to last, and what would the warranty be?
Good questions. The original chiller that we have today was installed in 2010, and we originally had a 30-year useful life because that was a reasonable useful life for that type of component. We're seeing that it's wearing out faster than the 30 years, and we adjusted to a 25-year useful life. Moving forward, we're probably never going to get 30 years out of any new component that's being installed due to just quality of engineering or manufacturing. We also know that we're going to be expecting much more preventative maintenance and care that's being provided by our contract HVAC vendor that has not maybe been provided over the last few years. And so we're going to be improving that, which should improve the useful life. We'll put it at 20 years. The chiller itself has a 10-year limited warranty. So that's nice, but things usually you start facing issues outside of the warranty period. Let me see if I actually have that. I know that's the number, but I don't know if it's actually spelled out in the proposal.
I don't think so.
But I'll get some writing to the board to memorialize that warranty language. But good questions.
Well, no, we got it.
Microphone's on its way.
Sorry. I'm wondering why you're using the same vendor when you haven't had very good luck with this company over the past several chillers that have been installed and then not performed well.
Reasonable questions. So first off, the contractor we are using, we're very impressed with. They actually salvaged a project that we kicked another contractor off of last year for them to finish, and the chiller was never included in their service agreement for monthly servicing. We were doing that, let's call it in-house, but not necessarily by the firm. Now, what about the last couple of compressors? Why didn't they raise a flag and say, why don't you replace versus repair? We've had some conversations with them about that. We've been through about 3 different HVAC companies in the last 10 years, and we feel like they're the strongest outfit, and we're satisfied with continuing our relationship.
Thank you for asking, Colette. 2 good questions from the audience. Any others? Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor of the motion to take the current chiller based on the information we have at this time?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion's carried. Okay, Scott?
Okay, let's shift from chillers to pool furniture. This one's a little funner. So the reserve study this year has a $15,000 allowance. It's scheduled every 10 years to replace all of the pool furniture. We know over time we've lost a number of components, and as it stands this year, where there's been a dire need for more furniture. The architectural committees reviewed this pool area and recognized the same furniture that is being used for the pergola community patio area would be very sensible and cohesive for the pool area. So they had created a laundry list of items, including chaise lounges, round tables and chairs, some 20-inch side tables and 18-inch side tables, and said, you know, we know we have $15,000, but what's the amount that'll actually get us what we need? So they reached out to the vendor that's been providing us the community patio area furniture. This proposal includes a $1,500 discount that this vendor has been able to provide us over these last couple of projects. The total cost of the project, as it's written here, is $20,395. As I've learned, it's $20,895, so it's an additional $500. But this was posted for resident comment. The comment period summary is included on page 56. Overall, not many items coming back as comments, but all of them seem to have been supportive. And I am looking to have the board approve this. The good news is, a couple of months ago, Glenn Phillips said to me early on, get things done. So through the magic of angels and pool furniture and working hard, we're gonna have this pool furniture delivered on Thursday. And so it'll be deployed as soon as possible, so we won't go another week or 2 or 3 while payment is being processed. So, board, I'm gonna pass this to you for any questions or potential action.
I would have a question and an observation. I was one of those who responded, and I said, shade is essential. I cannot approve a purchase of all these chaises and tables, and there's no provision for shade. Could you bring me up to date as to the thinking and how that's going to be accomplished?
Sure. The reserve study, their allowance identifies chairs, tables, and lounge shades as actually the collection within the reserves. Regarding shade, the architectural committee is currently engaged with RHAA, the landscape architect that's been working with the pergola project as well as our landscaping projects, and they are coming in right now with a variety of different shade options that we know is not included in any sort of reserve funding, but is an area that the architectural committee wants to explore, but does not want to wait for the purchase of the furniture while we sort out the shade options at this time.
So in other words, we're going to replace tables that have umbrellas with tables that don't have umbrellas, and then await a decision as to what to do?
Let me ask if the architectural chair is here. Lynn, hi, thank you. Izzy, if you could give her a microphone, I think it'd be appropriate for her to offer some feedback.
We found a lot of problems with the umbrellas. Just while we were meeting and sitting there, a gust of wind came and totally bent the umbrella. We're like a piece of spaghetti, so totally unusable. We've heard from other residents who have seen umbrellas come flying across the whole pool area. And the more we have looked into it, the more we felt that umbrellas were not the best option. We did get pricing on very heavy-duty commercial-grade umbrellas, and we're looking at anything from $3,500 to $6,000 per umbrella. And so when we brought Barbara in from RHAA, she had a couple suggestions for us that we are exploring, and we feel that that is the best long-term shade option for the entire pool area.
I'm sorry, I couldn't, what's the best recommendation?
Well, we have narrowed it down. We're looking at either a sail or a pergola structure. Not individual pergolas, but a long pergola style shade in pool areas.
So unfortunately, the wind condition is the challenging area, or the amenity that we have to deal with. And as it's been over the years, we've had glass tables out at the pool area with umbrellas and have created that sail issue, and we've lost units. So we do want to find the most sensible approach on how we handle this wind tunnel that we have here. But at the same time, we know there's a dire need for furniture for the summertime, so we've tried to say, let's get the furniture we know we want, and now let's work through the shade component.
So I don't have a motion yet. We had a lot of discussion, but I don't have a motion. I need a motion.
I'll move the purchase of the pool furniture.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved in second. I've got a question then. We have 8 chase lounges, 6 side tables that are 20 inches, and 6 side tables that are 18 inches. Now, did I hear that this project is not budgeted? That we're gonna find budget money for it?
No, it's reserved for $15,000. This total is coming in at $20,000, which
So
is
we have
5,000 more than the reserve amount.
So 5,000 of it is not budgeted, okay. Do we really need, and this is for the architect committee, I presume, do we really need 8 chase lounges and 12 side tables?
Then I'll partially address that, and then I'll let Lynn jump in. When we moved in 4 years ago, there were 8 chase lounges out there, and they were very used very frequently, and you know, for people that want to put their feet up and not, you know, be sitting up straight. So there were 8 there 4 years ago. So I think that's possibly where the number came from.
And 12 side tables?
The side tables are small, they are stacking so that you can move them around, so that you could put a drink or a book or whatever you may have brought with you. They are the same style that the enhancement committee has looked at for the pergola area on our community room terrace. So it's very, very flexible. Regarding the chases, we were originally looking just at 2, and then no, we really needed more, 4. When we did hear Karen's comments about the 8, and then we got the resident comments, several people said we need more chaise lounges. So I feel that that is a very realistic purchase.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Yeah,
Tom Hassel.
Some more discussion on this. Last summer, I had to use the pool extensively for therapy, and I was always not surprised, but saw people using the umbrellas extensively. I cannot approve a budget that does not have shade incorporated. The idea that it's in the reserve, it'll be in the reserve in 2026, it'll still be available. I don't see the urgency just because we happen to get a 15% discount on the furniture. So I cannot support it.
Okay, Ian? Ian
I want
first.
to follow up on Tom's question. So my understanding is we're going to replace tables with shade by tables without shade. And I'd like to know the time frame. Can we define a time frame when we're going to have some shade for the new structure, for the new furniture? It shouldn't be limitless. Or as Tom says, without shade. God knows when, till next summer.
Okay, Dean's not here, but just a second, we have Daphne White, and then.
Well, I was about to say the same thing.
Let's wait for the microphone, please, just so we can all hear.
Is this on? Oh, okay. I was about to say the same thing, that I think without the umbrellas, buying all that furniture is, no one's gonna be, a few people may use it, but no one is going to be out there without shade or without the ability to have shade when they want it. So I totally agree with Tom that it is, it's just not workable. I would cut back on the furniture and allow some money for some umbrellas until you can have more money to buy furniture and more umbrellas. That's my opinion.
Colette?
We only have a couple of mics, so it takes a while to get back and forth.
Well, I am on the architectural committee and
Closer
I
to you,
commend Jean for, you know, delivering a synopsis of what we've been talking about. But the umbrellas that are there now are a safety issue, obviously, from what she said. And the really heavy-duty umbrellas are very expensive. So if you want to find reserve money now or take it out of the employment retention money that just came in, maybe you want to buy 4 umbrellas that are huge and cantilevered and could cover 2 chaise lounges at least. You have to determine a number for the tables and for the chaises, and that's why Jean is the people that are doing the pergola for the community patio, determining the best solution for a pergola on the short end of each pool. Each end of the pool. And some tables would be under one side and some chaises would be on the other. And when Jean was at our meeting, she thought it might be a good idea to present to the board herself that some money out of the money that you receive for employment retention be utilized toward that goal.
One last comment is maybe a potential compromise on where we can go here. We have had safety issues regularly. I often get emails from patrol services that another table shattered around the pool because it was lifted up by the winds because maybe an umbrella wasn't put down previously. I would like the board to maybe direct the architectural committee to come back by their July meeting with a substantive shade recommendation and proposal so that we can continue to keep the pedal pressed on this, but not holding up the furniture, which is in high demand. I get regular emails from people wanting chairs and tables and lounges that I would feel like we can easily meet that demand while also making sure we hold the shade as an accountability topic for another month.
Okay, we have Lynn Brown again.
One other factor with the heavy-duty umbrellas, as great as they are, we found that there was a real labor issue. It was not something that we as individuals could raise or lower. And so we had to look into how would this be done. And we were probably talking about maintenance or valet people being in charge, coming to raise and to lower those umbrellas. So that is another factor in that decision against pursuing further those heavy-duty umbrellas.
Sally Torrance.
I am a frequent user of the pool. In fact, I was there yesterday.
Closer to your mouth, please.
Oh, I'm a frequent user of the pool area. I was there yesterday. There are 4 tables and 4 umbrellas there right now. I don't feel it's as big a problem as some of the other people do. I have seen people are very diligent about putting down their umbrellas, and I'm sorry, but I haven't seen this year, please correct me if I'm wrong, any of the tables or umbrellas going into the pool or anywhere else.
Is that microphone on? It's difficult to hear. Jack, you have a comment, Jack?
1 second, please.
Okay.
Hold it right to your mouth.
So I went online and looked at it, and there's really weights you could get for the bottom of the umbrellas that would hold them a lot better. And I think it's a pretty inexpensive, quick solution that you can utilize. So I'm just suggesting that's an alternative that I don't think's been explored yet.
I still don't think that mic is working properly.
Okay, what I said was, I went online and there are weights for the bottom of the umbrellas that we have. And you can purchase those and they could just be put in place and then the people could raise it. So I don't think it would be the hazard that people have, portrayed right now. It would reduce it significantly. I'm not saying it's the right long-term solution, but it might be a short-term alternative.
So you're suggesting that we should keep what we have now? Is that, and buy replacements when we need them?
Yeah, when we're ready and we've really thought it through, so.
Okay, Colette, again.
Sorry.
It's okay.
The tables that are to be purchased, and I believe have already been ordered, I could be incorrect about that, but the 4 tables for the pool area do not have a hole in them for an umbrella. And the glass tables that do, so what we currently have, the umbrellas, are the ones that can still fall over from the wind and crack, the glasses all over the pool area. So I don't think those glass tables are something that we want to keep.
Okay, Dean wrote in, but I think she's got a little half page here, so which I'm not gonna read, but I think we've covered all the points that she had. She says because of the winds can be so strong in this area, and this is her 3rd paragraph. In this area, the architect committee invited Barbara Lundberg, landscape architect from RHAA, to its 6/17 architect meeting. Barbara presented photos of 2 options of sails. So I won't go on, but nobody, I think Lynn mentioned sails, but is that an option that we should pursue?
Yes.
Lynn, you're saying yes, I think.
Yes, it is. We were waiting to get some price quotes. We had just looked at it. We had no idea what we're talking about cost-wise, pergola versus sails. Yeah, and they would stand up to 120 mile an hour per wind, so they'll definitely handle some of that. What you said, Jack, about some of the weighted stands, when we were sitting there and had the one umbrella destroyed, it was in a weighted stand, and it just bent, the wind bent it right where it was coming out of the glass top, and it's irreparable. So I don't know how viable that is. I think that the existing umbrellas could be used, taken out of the glass tabletops, and with a heavy-duty stand or weighted stand, they could be used to the side of the tables until we can come up with a good permanent solution to that.
Okay, Richard, this is the last question. We need to move on. Richard Drake.
Surprise, surprise. How about a technical solution? I would guess that there must be technology out there that would allow some sort of device to be connected to an automatic umbrella that measures the wind speed, and when the wind speed gets to a level that dangers the umbrella closes. Has anybody looked at that?
I would like to cut this off, but okay. Janet had her hand up first. Let's be brief. We'll be here all day.
The grill room has never had any problems with any umbrellas tapping over, and the swimming pool is enclosed with fence and ivy.
Ian?
Thank you. I was disturbed by Colette's comment. If she is correct, to order tables that do not have the facility to accept an umbrella is slightly crazy. We haven't decided we're not going to use umbrellas, but she says they're not drilled to accept an umbrella. So that's a fait accompli. If you get that, you can't use umbrellas. I've yet to see one of these major injuries from these umbrellas. And bending is irrelevant. So it bends, so we get another one that's straight. It is, and when was the last time we saw an umbrella in the pool? I've yet to see one. So I don't know when the last time was, but it's not very often. So I really hesitate to abandon totally the idea of umbrellas. I think that would be stupid, not stupid. That would be an unwise decision to make at this stage of the game.
Okay, we're going to take a vote. But I have seen an umbrella fly over the fence, by the way, toward Building 600.
Glenn, I just want to add one more thing. In the deliberations about how we're going to resolve this, I'd like all the stakeholders to be involved, so that those of us that are in buildings that are close by the solution, have some input or at least awareness of what some of the solutions are, because the visual impact is going to be significant from some buildings.
Okay, we're gonna take a vote now. We have a motion and a second.
Do we actually?
Yeah, we do. It's been so long ago you forgot. All in favor of spending $20,395.36 for the new pool furniture?
I would like to amend the motion.
Okay,
I would amend it to say that we would also proceed with getting heavy-duty pedestals for the existing umbrellas and keeping them available until we can find a more permanent solution for that.
heavy duty, what?
Bases.
Spacer?
Bases.
Okay. Okay. So, I have a motion and I have amendment. I have to go consult Robert's Rules of Orders on how to do this.
You're gonna wanna ask Karen if she wants to second that amended motion.
I will second the amended motion, and then Tom has a comment.
Oh, I'd like to amend the motion. I think we ought to send it back to the architectural committee, reverse any decisions and any commitments we may have already made until the final proposal comes before the committee or the board and for comment as to how they're going to shade the property and shade the area.
Okay, sounds like we're gonna have more discussion then. Okay, all in favor?
Well, just if we're trying to do parliamentary procedure,
Yeah.
there's a motion right now that Gary made and amended and was seconded by Karen. You do need to call that question.
Okay, that's the question.
And if that sinks, then another motion could be made.
Yeah.
And I just want to keep it.
All in favor
segregated.
of the motion as amended? Do we know what the motion as amended is?
Yeah, to proceed with the purchase, but also include heavy-duty stands for the umbrellas in the intermediate time.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Okay, the chair can make or break a tie.
Is that a tie?
It's not a tie. That's right. Or I can make the tie.
Glenn, this is probably not parliamentary procedure, but I think the reason for my eye is that the furniture matches what's going to be over here in the enhancement, in the community area. And that was part of the logic of the architecture committee, was that the furniture would match. So I think really the only question about the furniture is the tables, is of concern, but.
Well, if you only have 2 ayes out of a board of 5, it's not a majority.
Well, just to be clear, we have a quorum of 4 board members, and the majority of the 4, in terms of how we vote, is the president abstains from voting unless making or breaking the tie.
Scott?
I'm sorry, yes?
So the onus is
I wanted
already.
to clarify just the board voting nature first before we.
Can I just interject? I think what you said, I think Tom made a motion, and following Robert's Rules of Order, you need to address Tom's motion before you come to the one you're talking about.
Well, Gary made the motion first, though.
Oh, then Tom made
Don't you take the last motion first?
I've always taken the first motion with the second. So we don't have to follow Robert's rule. We do want to follow a parliamentary procedure. And I don't want to split hairs. Just usually with the voting of 4 board members showing up, there's a quorum, so you can take action. Then out of the 4, 3 can vote, because the president doesn't vote except for making or breaking a tie.
Okay, the president votes nay, And now we have a tie. You
So
think,
that-
you think I'm a chicken? Is that what you
That then sinks the motion, so the motion does not carry.
The motion does not carry. So where does that leave us?
Well, then I'll move that we return the question to the architectural committee and that we not proceed with purchasing the tables until an answer comes forth on the shading of the pool area.
Do I have a second to that motion? No. Your motion was not seconded. No. So isn't this fun? Okay, Lynn, you got one more voice.
I do. If we don't do this now with the furniture, there will be no other new pool furniture until this is resolved. So here we are towards the end of June, and we don't have that pool furniture.
So what?
Any other discussion? Sally Torrance.
I understand everything that's going on. I just want some chaises out there. I don't, get the matching chaises anyway, so we could at least have some chaises.
Well, it sounds like the architect committee needs to come back with another recommendation. Yeah. Mary Ann.
Could we go with a new motion that states buying the furniture and then the heavier bases for the umbrellas?
That was my motion.
That was the original motion.
So procedurally, if nothing can be agreed, then the agenda item gets postponed until it goes back to the board for a new recommendation. That's kind of where we're at a standstill. If the board cannot come to a consensus of a motion, then it's gonna revert back to the committee.
Okay. So it sounds like it reverts back to the architect committee with no action. Colette doesn't agree with that. She's shaking her head up here.
Well, that just delays getting any pool furniture at all for a month, and then we still have to approve that again, and in the meantime, we need to decide on whether it's gonna be sales or a pergola. And that's what the committee is looking at now, so I don't see why you just can't continue with the motion to get all of the pool furniture, which will be the same as on the community patio, and we have a cohesive look, and then we'll deal with the shade as quickly as possible. But in spending money on, I mean, if they're already heavy bases, and they're still flying out of the glass tabletops, that doesn't work. And why spend money now on heavier bases when that's not gonna really be the ultimate solution, in my mind.
Bonnie, you have a question?
I am not on the architecture committee.
Speak.
But,
You have to
so-
speak into the
Sorry.
microphone.
So far as I've heard, I do not know how the funding.
Into the top, tilt it
Into the
towards you.
top, okay. Now, sorry. All right, from the top. I'm not on the architecture committee. I have been involved with the community patio. I'm wondering, I've not heard yet, where is the money for pergola for the pool? I do not hear that yet, and that seems to me critical. I certainly hope we continue the look, as many people have said, with the furniture, which I believe is in the process right now. But still, the question is unanswered. Where's the money for whatever sort of shade? They make $12,000 umbrellas. For that, we might as well get some more pergolas. but I just don't know where that money is. Is that somewhere else in reserve?
The way our reserve policy reads, new furniture or new components are still funded out of reserves up to a certain threshold that we wouldn't meet here. So it would come out of reserves, to answer your question there. And what might help just with this board trying to find some momentum forward, Glenn, maybe you want to ask one more time for your board if there's any motion that they want to make, because the alternative is then there's no action to take on that action item and would revert back to the committee. So
And I
maybe-
hate that. I don't like to table anything or inaction is not in my DNA. Okay, so Scott suggests that if one of the board members wants to make another motion, that the chair is willing to accept.
I'd like to hear, Scott, I'd like to hear what your opinion is, because you voted against the other one, but can you give us some rationale for what you're thinking?
Glenn
You
or
said
Tom?
Scott.
Oh, I mean, Glenn.
Oh. Well, I don't like to spend money that we don't have to spend. If we can make do this summer with what we've got, I imagine the pool furniture company will provide furniture for us sooner or later. It might be a little bit later than we want for this summer, but if we can make do, it sounds like we do need shade, and it sounds to me like a proposition that needs to go back to the architect committee to give us some different ideas.
Glenn, I think it's my understanding, and I think that's probably where Lynn is going, so maybe I'll let her say it, is there was an opportunity, a window of opportunity to buy the furniture that will match what is going out here in the community room plaza. And so I believe the architecture committee moved forward with recommending the furniture that would match the plaza area. And that really the only pieces of furniture that are in question are the tables and probably not the rest of the pool furniture.
Okay, Lynn?
I'm competing with Cliff, and I think I may have beat him with having a microphone at this meeting.
No, you got a ways to go yet.
Well, we're talking about one meeting here. Karen is very right about that. The chaise lounges that we chose, instead of doing the black ones, which there was opposition even in the feedback, the resident comment for that, that color will be discontinued after this season. And we very much wanted it to coordinate with originally the furnishings that were there in the pergola area on our patio, as well as to work with the furnishings that we were looking at in the pool area. And we did not want the black chaise lounges, which is apparently that's going to be the standard one. They are in a, I'm going to say the word, a cream colored, it's a lighter color that coordinates with the other upholstered furniture. That's going to give it a very unified look for anybody, the residents in 600 and 300 who will look down on it, people visiting in the clubhouse, all of that. So there's been a lot of thought that has gone into that. Perhaps one other alternative would be to using the 15,000 reserves. It could cover the 8 chaises, but maybe we can hold off on some of the tables, just to run it up to the 15,000 to expend that, and then do the other furnishings at a later time.
Final area that I'm trying to strive for maybe is just compromise. When there's disagreements, what can we do to find somewhere in the middle? But we also want to do the right thing too. Let's not just compromise to do the wrong thing. I think Tom is very right. We need to look at this from a big picture standpoint, not just onesie-twosie. Shade is important, and I think the compromise that I'm hearing, because on the receiving end, as being the manager here, I've received numerous comments and complaints about the lack of furniture at the pool. And I know this would be a very easy slam dunk to be able to meet the community's needs for some instant ROI on satisfaction. I think the compromise, though, is to tell and direct the architectural committee come back with a recommendation in July with a long-term big picture shade recommendation. And table umbrellas are not going to be the solution that the architectural committee has even been evaluating and what I've seen over the years. That's not going to be the solution that we need in that area. They're looking at the pergola/sail shade option, and let's require the committee to come back with a recommendation in July so we keep this thing moving.
In order to keep it moving, I would be willing to call a special board meeting if the architect committee wants to assemble and come back to us with something different. Is that acceptable, Lynn?
Yes, very much so.
She said yes, very much so. Okay, so I will call a meeting when you come back with a recommendation post haste, okay? Okay, so as much as I hate to table something, we're tabling this.
Tabling the table.
Tabling,
Are we tabling only the tables or the
Tabling
entire,
the entire program till they come back with a recommendation.
Because I believe Lynn, Scott, maybe you know better, that we would risk the furniture, the chaise lounges here.
Yeah, there is the risk because the inventory is limited in the color option. That was something that we've been.
Well, my suggestion is better than waiting till July to do it.
Well, why can't we just approve the furniture except for the tables?
I can endorse that. Why don't we buy the furniture now, and then store the tables until we have a solution for the replacing the umbrellas. Use the current existing tables until we can get that solution. That way we can be moving forward on 90% of the project right now.
Not sure I got all of that, so.
I think the consensus that I just heard that resonated best was excluding the round tables from this proposal, proceeding as proposed alternatively, and that includes the side tables. Side tables have nothing to do with umbrellas. The 20-inch and 18-inch, the armchairs and the chaise lounges can proceed, excluding the tables, the round tables. That's what I would recommend the board consider so we can continue forward on the furniture process, excluding the shade issues, to be able to get something accomplished today.
Lynn, would that be acceptable
Yes.
to the committee?
Yes.
Well, there's some shade right there.
All right, whatever Gary just said, I'll second.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, whatever Scott just said. Or Gary just said.
Well, I mean, just to summarize, we're excluding the table portion of this project so we can get our chaise.
Yeah.
That's the compromise we're trying to reach today, and then we'll circle back with a shade option ASAP.
What I was suggesting is that we complete the order as shown, and we just store the tables, not use them until we can come up with a shade solution, use the old tables and all the rest of the new furniture for now. But we buy them all because we want to buy them as a package.
Bruce, you've had enough, huh?
No, I'm coming back.
Yeah, I'm not seeing where buying those tables are going to be helpful if you end up not wanting to keep them.
So we're gonna pay $26,450 and store that until when? Till we get sales or shade or decide how we're gonna manage this shade?
Well, we could just, if you want to just eliminate the tables, we could do that too.
Okay, Lynn, here you go again.
One more comment. We are waiting for input from RHAA. So I don't know how long that's going to take. We can push for that to get input for them so that we can call a special meeting for architecture committee. But right now, the ball is not in our court.
Whose court is it in? RHA?
It's in RHAA, so we're waiting to hear back from Barbara.
Okay. You don't know how long that'll take?
I do not know.
Yeah.
But at least we could use the existing tables and umbrellas until then.
yes, we could do that. And we can use the existing umbrellas, the ones that are there, we can take them and put them in a heavy stand so that they are to the side, but shading probably spaces between two tables.
So we can't go ahead and purchase the furniture, huh?
Oh, well, I think we should go ahead and print it.
Oh, I thought
so
you
that
were
we
saying
can
we
use it.
couldn't.
No, that we can do that. And the shade option is the one that is so long-term because Architecture Committee does not feel that umbrellas are the best, most suitable option. I know that question was raised, the umbrellas are fine in the grill room area. Yes, because the building is blocking part of the wind tunnel. But you get out there in the main pool area, unless you are off to the side where the bushes help control that wind, it is still very windy, and wind is a serious issue for that pool area.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I think I second it.
Did you second it? I'm going to say no more discussion, okay? Repeat the motion. Gary?
As I understand, well, my understanding is the motion is to purchase the information, the furniture listed here on the pool furniture, except for the 4 tables, and put that furniture in now and then continue the study of the proper shade before we buy tables.
All in favor?
Clarification, are we gonna buy the tables now or defer them? Does it make any difference? Just for clarity, I don't know where we're going on that one.
Are we going to buy the table now or what?
Or defer that. But I guess you can always have new tables without a centerpiece umbrella. So, okay, well then I support your proposal.
That's a yay. A yay?
Yay, to buy all the equipment now and store the 4 tables, new tables, until such time we can find appropriate screening, whatever.
Because umbrellas do not need to be in the middle of the table. They could be next to a table and be more flexible actually in their use than being in the middle of a table. So I think we're back to the full order.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. You know, I think we exceeded the pool temperature of debate. I didn't think we ever would, but we did. So, I'm good mind to call this meeting adjourned. But I guess we need to finish. Okay, the croquet bocce pathway. Scott?
Okay, this is another reserve
This
action
could be
item.
another one that's.
This is not the one. There's still another one coming our way too that'll elicit some feedback. First, I want to thank the Architectural, Landscape, and Maintenance Committees over the last 2 years that have been evaluating this croquet bocce pathway. This has been a project that had been going on over a year plus, and the board was really committed to trying to find a solution while still working with everybody's different opinions. So the board reviewed a proposal at the last meeting in May and posted that for comment. This proposal was developed by our landscape architect, RHAA, that has knowledge of Smith Ranch Homes, and provided a proposal that was posted for comment for 2 weeks. A summary of those comments are included for the board on page 60. All of them seem to be generally in favor. We received, I believe, about 7 or 8 comments here. So what we are looking to do now is return this action item to the board following a review of those comments and hopefully approve a motion to proceed with the installation of this pathway that's going to be connecting our croquet and bocce amenities to the sidewalk with a granite-crete pathway material in a color of adobe that has been supported by Landcare, who will do the installation in conjunction with the manufacturer that'll maintain the warranty. And we ask that the board approve the design based on the RHAA design plan on page 59. and we'll certainly work to make sure that we follow those exact specifications. I'll turn that to the board for any questions or potential action.
Questions on the pathway?
Not a question, but a stipulation from the architectural committee that Barbara from RHAA, who's the senior landscape architect for our facility, that we've been using on the mitigation, and she's the one who finally designed the path. And it's important that she be there with land care to mark out exactly where the entrance is from the concrete pathway. And I agree with that, because people in Building 600 and other places have been surprised by colors of various concretes and bocce ball courts. So I can fully understand why they're concerned that it be followed as stated in the proposal. It's just a clarification, that's all I'm saying.
Okay, do I have a motion now?
Oh, I move that the adoption of engaging Land Care and Granite Creek and RHA for the respective roles in the...
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Did I include the price in my review?
You didn't.
Okay.
And the price is $26,450 for a pathway.
Which will be funding out of reserves for this project, and moving forward, we would then reserve for that component.
This has taken 2 years and $26,450 to get to where we are. Any other discussion? 3 committees impacted this one too, at least 3. Okay. Do we have a vote here? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. That was too easy.
Well, I do want to commend the board. They saw that maybe this was getting stuck in a paralysis through analysis, although all ideas were good, but I think you really respected the committee's ideas, but also finally just said we need to get this done, and kudos to you for doing that, board.
Yeah. My remarks were frustration, not criticism. So, okay, we move on. I believe we have another management report. We have some introductions tonight.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. And team, I do need the password. We've waited so long that our computer went to sleep. Gary didn't close it, but it did fall asleep. And I want to be mindful of the time. We know that last action item took a while, and we have some others to get to. I have some slides that I wanted to show, but first and foremost, we do have some introductions. I'm very excited to introduce Daria Carrillo, our finance manager. Daria, I know you're in the back, but I did give you a heads up. So if you don't mind just coming forward for a little bit, I'm not going to embarrass her. I'm not going to ask her to, prepare a speech or anything, but I did want to recognize Daria. So Smith Range community, this is our newest finance manager, Daria Carrillo. Welcome. Daria started on June 12th, so you are a little over a week and a half, yeah, in positions. This is great. Oh, that's right, Daria, you're gonna learn. So why don't we have you walk the longest way possible to stand right here. Our camera's right over there. That's what we're aiming for right now. And if Dean was here, she would tell you to scoot over just a hair more, if you don't mind. But Daria, thank you for being here. She's already attended how many committee meetings? Three. So she's a seasoned veteran already. But Daria, why don't you just say hello and introduce yourself to the community?
Hi, I'm Daria Carrillo. I'm very happy to be here and to be the finance manager. As Scott just said, I started on June 12th. And I've met some of you, and I look forward to meeting more of you. So thank you.
And she really enjoyed her first finance meeting.
Really enjoyed her first finance meeting, Cliff. Good job.
I'm not so sure she enjoyed her first board meeting.
Well, thank you, Daria. And Daria's been a blessing to be here already. I can already see the just value that she brings. We are always hoping that the new finance manager would hit the ground running, and she really is. She's working with the finance group. I overheard a meeting of about an hour and a half yesterday in her office with Cliff and Gary. So They're already getting their hooks into her. That's good, guys. But thank you, Daria, and we're just looking forward to working with you. Another group, well, here's Daria's report that I was going to introduce here. She's also working with the North Star team. She's already engaging Karen and the rest of the implementation team to work on the accounting financial side of this new software system, which she has experience with at other opportunities of where she's worked in the past. I don't always assume that you've read your FYI, but there was another organizational structure change that I wanted to communicate. Daniel Tikas has been elevated to our Assistant Maintenance Department Manager position. We've heard some great feedback in the last couple of months about the maintenance department, looking at those work orders for residents, addressing the issues, and what we're hoping to aim for is a little more support for Kevin to be a leader within the department, and then have some supportive leaders as well to allow them to kind of manage the day-to-day while Kevin's maybe looking bigger picture. So congratulations to Daniel. He was promoted from a Tech 2 to a assistant manager position. Dante was promoted from a Tech 2 position to being a lead HVAC tech. I'm sorry, that should just be a lead tech. So he's going to be kind of the captain of the other techs. So Dante and Daniel will be collaborating on the day-to-day work orders regularly, the preventative maintenance, the common area repairs, and also the resident work orders to make sure these things are moving through and to make sure that we're billing appropriately. Right, Cliff and Gary? But we have some other actions too. Francisco Saban has been our painter, but we've moved him to being a Tech 1, which is kind of a reclassification because he's really been doing a lot of tech work and not painting work. But hopefully you've seen a lot of the nice painting improvements that we've had on the community. Nathan is a contractor. He's not currently a Smith Ranch Homes employee, but as other contractors have done, they've maybe worked here long enough to say, I like Smith Ranch Homes. We're aiming to hire Nathan in the long run, but he's currently our painter and doing a lot of interior and exterior work. And David Daniel was a recent hire in May. You may have seen David throughout the campus. He was doing our trash for a while. He was hired and moved on to a Tech 1 position. Let's not forget the rest of the team. And let me tell you, a Mark Anthony David, a David Daniel, and a Daniel Tikas makes for a tongue twister quite often when you're on the radio, and you often get the wrong guy because you asked for the wrong person. But let's acknowledge too Mark Anthony, who's in the office fielding calls and work orders. Hopefully you've had a chance to meet Mark Anthony. He is just a blessing to have on our team, and we couldn't do it without him. Nicholas Rios is a Tech 2 who's been on our team for a while as well, and he's a very strong Tech 2. Raul, who started off as a trash utility worker, has been promoted to a Tech 1 and on his way up to being a Tech 2. So we've had a nice promote from within philosophy. And right now we're going to be carving out a new position, which is this utility worker that we haven't had in a while. They will do the garbage and then a number of other technical jobs throughout the property as well. But this is our core team. This is 9 individuals, and then we have Kevin on top as the leader. And I'm just really happy to see the development of this team over the last couple of months. So kudos to Daniel and Dante, but thumbs up to the rest of the team as well. Get it done. This is what the board said a long time ago, 3 months ago as it is. I wanted to identify some of the projects that we would report ordinarily at a board meeting verbally, but I wanted to show you. These are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 action items that have been approved by the board that we have completed within the last month, the last time I met with you. The common area heat pump in Building 600 was approved in April of last year. The problem was we couldn't find access on how to get that unit up in the ceiling. Last month, the board approved that common area access, and within a couple of weeks, they've installed it, and now that issue is put to bed. The thermostat controls. There were some change orders 3 and 4. Those were approved in April by the board. Those have been approved. Our trash truck, the board approved a replacement of the trash truck in April, and on June 5th, that trash truck came on board. Hopefully you've seen it, and it's a beauty. We are also able to sell our old trash truck for $1,400. So I think that's 1 tank of gas for the new truck. So good job there. We also have new kitchen equipment that the board approved in April. We finished that in June. And then our portable mic system was approved by the board last month, and we had that deployed for our welcome new resident event that we had in the lounge. So what I'm just trying to demonstrate to the community though too is we're getting action items to the board, that's great, but then does it take months and months and months to finish the project? No, we're jumping on these things and getting them done, and we'll continue to update the community on these projects. Connection Point, this is something that I'm introducing, and Sarah, I'll talk to you about the activities coordinator, or activities calendar. I've been trying to find some new ways to meet with the residents, and I've been enjoying eating in the dining room. Who doesn't like doing that? But on Monday, July 14th, I'm going to try a new session called A Connection Point. And this is where I'd like to be in the multi-purpose room for an hour and just kind of keep it as an open door and allow any interested residents that want to talk about Smith Ranch Homes get to know me a little bit, or come in with some suggestions and ideas. I'm going to try to do this on a weekly monthly option and see what kind of attendance we have. Maybe we'll extend that bi-monthly or quarterly, but I do want to get together with you in a less formal environment and just kind of hear what you have to say. I threw in the baseballs though because July 9th is the baseball game. That's going to be a tradition that I'd like to continue, not only having at Smith Ranch Homes, but I'd like to attend that event. I think we're a little short on signups, so I would love to see other residents that are interested to let Sarah know ASAP. We have to have, I think, 15 attendees to be able to get a group ticket bulk from the Giants. And I don't think we're gonna hit that, so we're gonna find some alternative tickets. But I would love to share a beer and a hot dog with you, and maybe have our own connection point over in section 127. I was supposed to wear a little grass hula dress and a little bikini of coconuts, and darn it, I couldn't find one that fit this big belly. So I'm not wearing my luau gear, but I know there's one tonight that's happening at Smith Ranch. Daria, thank you for wearing your lei. I have tickets to a concert tonight that I can't attend this event, but I hope you all go back and get your grass dresses and your little coconut bikini and come on board and have fun tonight. And one of the things that I wanted to throw to the group today is I recognize everybody can be at home watching the board meeting at home in high definition from the comfort of their Barca Lounger, but I thank you for being here in session, in the room itself. We all have enough tote bags, but maybe you can not have enough tote bags. And scattered throughout the audience, there's these blue Community Association Manager tote bags. So CACM is an alphabet soup for California Association of Community Managers. And they came by to talk to the managers and other staff just about education, certifications, other opportunities to grow your knowledge in community association management. And inside of one of these bags, there may be a coupon. We heard about drinking at the bar and how we don't see a lot of it. One of these bags has a coupon for a free drink. If you're a Shirley Temple drinker, that's okay. But I did want to recognize, hey, if you come to a board meeting, sometimes you can walk out of this with something pretty fun and exciting. Oh, and I see a card right there. Congratulations. Calistoga or a glass of wine? What do you think? Wine. Okay, good. Take that to your nearest bartender and we'll take care of it.
Gail Berkowitz won it.
Good job, Mrs. Berkowitz. Okay, I'll turn it back to you, Glenn. I want to get this meeting back on track.
Yeah, you want to get the meeting back on. I do too. We move on now to the charter revisions.
Okay, well, back in December of 2022, the Board of Directors approved the formation of 3 ad hoc committees: long-range planning, enhancement, and communications. And usually an ad hoc committee is for a specific purpose, and then when they're finished with that purpose, they either disband or they move on to be a standing committee or some other type of governance structure. So the Long Range Planning Committee has formulated their recommendation. We did not address it at this particular meeting, and we're going to discuss it at the July meeting. The Enhancement Committee is recommending that they become a standing committee. And so they will go through the same process as all the other standing committees in the selection of their members and chairs. And they submitted a proposed charter that matches what a standing committee's charter should be. So should we take these separately?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm asking, well, I am recommending to the board, I guess I'm moving, that we approve the enhancement committee classification as a standing committee and the charter that they submitted.
Do I have a second?
I'm the liaison of the committee, and I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion or any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion's carried.
Now, the communications committee that was formed way back in December of, well, I have the original charter here, has asked to be separated into two committees. First, it would remain as the communications committee and become a standing committee. Again, going through the same nomination process as all of our other standing committees. And then breaking off the technology part of the current communications committee charter into a technology committee steering, well, a technology steering committee. I think that name might still be in refinement, but we're working on that. And so let's first vote on the, well, I think we're going to do this. The board supports the recommendation of the communications committee to split into two entities, a standing committee called the communications committee and a steering committee called the technology committee. So I would call for that support. As far as their charters, we'd like to review their charters a little bit longer, and that the charters and the appointment of the members, the rosters for those committees, will be something at our July meeting. But as far as supporting the concept of being separated into two committees, we'd like to approve that today.
So is that a motion?
That is a motion.
And do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I would just like to say that the new communications committee charter includes the functions that were previously handled by the public relations committee. So it's combined, it's actually a combination of those two committees now going forward.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. I should have mentioned that. We wanted to make sure that the current communications committee goals and objectives and strategic strategies were included in the new communications committee, and so that's the direction. Thank you for bringing that up, Gary.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion's carried. Okay, now we get into another good little discussion. Is the clubhouse message board. So Scott, I've asked Scott to handle this one.
Thanks, Glenn. Okay, new business. So Communications Committee presented a trial installation of an electronic information screen next to our resident services desk. Did you hear about that? The committee contended the purpose was to provide notifications and information to residents and guests in an efficient and timely manner. The installation is similar to the announcement screen located next to the wellness office, but the content will reflect more timely news, daily activities, and/or emergency information, with a breadth and depth not possible with posted notices and easels. There are no preliminary costs for this project, as the screen does not change our currently monthly expense with the vendor that provides the same functionality of our in-house TV channel. Due to the nature of this trial, a permanent custom border, which we've seen on the first floor, was not put around the screen during that time. The committee welcomed community feedback through a trial installation for a 2-week resident comment period, and the board does have a summary of those attached on page 79. Following a review of the comments, the Communications Committee voted to recommend to the board to approve the placement of this message board. The vote was 4-1. The Architectural Committee has submitted a proposal, a memo for the board, which was included in the packet. And like the pool temperature earlier this year, we want to certainly be thoughtful of the process of today's events. What we've talked about amongst the board was to have Mr. Drake, who's here, speak to any other added aspects of this proposal if necessary, then turn it to the board for any questions or comments, and then to the community for an opportunity to speak, and then turn it back to the board for any potential action. So I'll turn it to the board, or Richard, if you'd like to say anything, Richard, about the project. We have the lectern up here, or we can give you a microphone. Yep.
Okay, thanks again for the opportunity to go over some of the perspectives about the screen in the lounge area. As I mentioned at a previous meeting, there are 103 places to sit upstairs in the lounge. And of those 103 places to sit, only 30 of them can actually see the screen when you're sitting there. So 70% of the seats up there, you can't even see the screen. I then actually went and took some pictures around the lounge area. And I took a picture from the seat that is closest to the view of the screen. And that is the one in the group. There's a group of chairs in front of the elevators. And looking from that chair and taking a picture, the screen occupies exactly 0.235% of the image. So if I'm sitting there, 99% of this building is exactly the same. If I'm sitting over by the bar, of course, it's a lot less. So many residents seem are concerned about the screen there, but even residents coming to dinner from most of their units can simply come up the elevator, turn right, go into the dining room. They never even have to see the screen. I also checked with the real estate folks, with our real estate partners, and potential buyers and people who are buying have no concern about the screen whatsoever. So while I appreciate the sense of some members of the community that this is disruptive to the living room kind of atmosphere there, I have to say that from my perspective, that just doesn't ring true. And I guess one other thing that I noticed when I was sitting there taking the picture and looking around is that the color of the screen is kind of a pale blue, like these chairs, which matches the furniture up there. It doesn't jump off the wall at you. Finally, I'd just like to mention that technology moves ahead, and one of the things that we need to do as an organization is to continue to embrace that technology and provide more opportunity for information to be available to residents. I think this is one of those opportunities, and I would encourage the board to approve keeping the screen there so that we have another avenue through which residents can gain information that they need.
Thank you, Richard, and we thank you for your involvement in the technology of Smith Ranch Home. Scott, you done?
Yeah, I'm gonna let it now go to the board for any questions that you might have, and then potentially open the floor for feedback.
Okay, do I have a motion on this? A motion that we either keep the message board as is or not keep it.
I would move that we keep the board, but move it to the first floor, adjacent to the other information board.
Okay. Do I hear a second on it? I do not.
Well, I'll second the keeping the message board. I'm not convinced right where the proper place really ought to be. It could be downstairs, but it also could be maybe in the wall of the bar next to the library.
So do you have that in the form of a motion?
I would like to have the motion just say that I would like to keep the message board and resolve the location in due course.
Do I hear a second to that?
Isn't that postponing the issue?
We don't have a second yet.
Yeah, I think Gary was actually asking Tom if he wanted to amend his motion. Does that?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Karen, you have a point of view?
Yes.
Question to Tom is to clarify downstairs where?
Oh.
To repeat again?
Yeah, as you approach the wellness office, there's the global map that moves, and there's the information board. We parallel, put the other information board next to the moving map. It would balance the two. And that would be an information source that might draw more people to it. People that obviously come here to go to either the grill room or this room or other rooms, but most importantly the mail room. So you get a good flow of people. And my concern is, when I look at the survey, it's a 4-1, and the 4 that are against the location seems to talk about, in fairly strong language, at least the way it was summarized, strong feelings about the inappropriateness of the board upstairs. I know it's pretty, I come in the door, I use the elevator all the time, and I'm drawn to it because I find it attractive. I don't find it informational, candidly, because I've already absorbed it elsewhere. But that's all I have to say.
Well, we don't have a second on the motion yet.
I'll second it to open discussion,
Okay.
because I think I can look at the eyeballs out there, and there are people who would like to comment.
It's
So
been
I was,
moved and seconded. Now, any discussion from the board first?
well, probably my only discussion is the content and what we really need to see on a daily basis, whether it's located there or somewhere else, to, refine what would be shown on that board. And hopefully at some point, I would almost rather postpone it till we could get it to a touchscreen type of technology that says, oh, I want information about meetings today, and you touch it and all the meetings are listed. So I think my questions are more on the technology that could be a year from now versus what we could see today.
Gary, any discussion
I'd like to hear from the members.
from the residents? Tom?
I've already commented on it.
Yeah, okay. I noticed in the comment section that is attached to this, there were 14 of them that said it looks tacky. Now, all of them said exactly the same words, except 2. I don't know what that means, but anyway, I'll open it up for the residents now. Does anybody want to comment? Jack Holm was first. Teresa.
Okay, I failed to put in a comment card, and I should have, because I think it was very appropriate where it is. I really don't understand the objection myself. And I think it's nice to have something upstairs where people see what the activities are current. I like Karen's idea about a touchscreen thing, but I think for now this would suffice.
Okay, Linda Danford had her hand up next.
Hi, this is the second time I've gone through this here because this happened many years ago when I first came here, and it was roundly booed and never got taken down. And I really like the easels in every lobby of every room. I think in every building, I think everybody can see what's going on there. The dinner menu is on the one next to the desk, and it's also 10 feet away in front of the dining room. And I just think it just lowers the quality of the living in the lobby. I just think it doesn't look good at all. And I don't know why we need it. Why do people? And people can look online. People can look many places to find out what's going on. Why do we need to be bombarded with all this stuff all the time? Anybody that wants to look something up, the easels change. Sarah's doing a great job on that. And everybody stops and looks those on the way out of the building. And I just don't think this is attractive at all.
Okay?
Personally, the location of where it is now does not bother me at all. I also think that we were told that it will not look exactly the way it is. I think it's going to be finished off, maybe encased in a frame, or the wires in the back will not be showing. I also agree with Richard that this community needs to be moved forward with technology. We are behind the times. The FYI is fine, but I think going forward, getting more involved with technology, and younger people as they move in here are going to be more interested in up-to-date information on a screen like that. And I think what Karen said about touching it is definitely going in the right direction for the future. And I think that we're not going backward, we're going forward. And one more comment, when you said a lot of the comments, 12 out of 14, all sounded the same, just to say this, there was a certain small amount of people who were pushing this negativity. I overheard conversations, how these people did not like it. They were encouraging people to write about how horrible it looks, and I think it was one or two people were giving the message, and people were just basically copying that language so that they could get more votes. And I think a lot of people who it doesn't bother didn't even bother to write anything. When people have a strong opinion, they want to get lots of people to make comments along with them to promote their negativity. But there may be lots of people here who didn't write anything and think it's perfectly okay.
Thank you, Gail. My wife, this could cause a divorce.
Okay, this is our home, and I would not have a message board in my entry hall, in my home. I think it's unnecessary, but I don't want to be, in the past. I think perhaps the mailroom would be a better location, because everybody goes there, and they can find out what's going on. It looks too commercial for my taste in the entry room.
Thank you, dear. Let's see, we had Nancy Monterosa.
I'm one of the people that use tacky. I even said, take the wall down. I did not get a group to follow me. Those were my own words. I just want everyone to know that. And I agree totally with Nancy that I would not put a board like that into my living room. And this is our home, and the lounge is part of our living area. I love Tom's idea, because it's great that we have information available to us. Putting it downstairs with the rest of the information booths there. Perfect. Thank you.
Lynn Brown. And I think you have exceeded Cliff.
I'm challenging you, Cliff. I have to speak to several of these comments. First of all, Architectural Committee was involved with that, and the committee unanimously opposed that, but we did not, certainly as a committee, tell people that you must vote against it at all. I did speak with a lot of people, but I was polling. I did kind of my own informational poll, and several of you were victims of that. And my big thing with the board is the communication committee, and I sit on that committee. I was that one negative vote. I feel that they need to do a deeper dive into what are the best ways to communicate with residents. In my informal poll, people said that the FYI or the FYI email on Monday, the easels, And then, trying to remember, there were 4 things that people used. Oh, the website. I was dismayed, though, to see in the feedback, not a lot of people have used the website for that, and that certainly should be very current. I like the idea very much of a touch tone board. I think we really need to look at, number one, what are going to be the best ways of doing this? And I think that the Communications Committee really needs to look into that and maybe change the way some of these things are done. I also agree with people that the clubhouse, the lounge and the main lobby area, that is our living room. And I agree with people who'd say, I wouldn't have a message board like that. I wouldn't. And I really went back to the history project that the Communications Committee posted. And I read every single board. I loved that history project and what makes this place so fabulous. Why did I feel when I walked in, I want to live here? And they talk about that design element that said they wanted this to be like someone's living room that was in a tasteful, very classic, welcoming environment. And I really feel that we need to stick to that, because that's one of the things that makes Smith Ranch so unusual with that. I think the mail room and some better technology will be a much better way to go. And I think that the Communication Committee needs to explore more of those options.
Thank you, Lynn. Other comments? Mary Ann?
Yes, I was on the architectural committee last year when John brought the message board to, and it was unanimous, we did not want a message board in the lounge, in the clubhouse. And then after the fact, I found out we were the second architectural committee that he was brought to, and the second one that said no. And the third thing I found out was that the community, years before, voted no, they did not want that in our clubhouse. And I'm starting to feel like, as a homeowner and a person sitting on a committee, very disrespected that we just are ignored. Just saying, well, that's great that you said no, but we're going to go ahead with it anyhow. I would not object to it being downstairs in the mail room, but it absolutely does not belong up in our clubhouse. And the other question I have, you say you're going to put current ideas or emergency, what are you going to put a flag up on the campus to let 200 people know to run down and take a look at the message board, that there's an urgent message there? I mean, makes no sense.
Okay. If there's no more discussion, we'll take a vote.
May I amend my motion? I've learned that the mailroom might be also an option. So let me modify my motion that we install it on the first floor to be determined by the architectural committee and the communications committee. But I'd be supportive of that.
I'll second that.
So the motion has changed. Okay. Any discussion on the second motion from the board? From the residents? Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor of keeping the message board, but relocating it to the first floor to an appropriate location? Cliff's giving me all kind of signals here.
To be coordinated between the Communications Committee and the Architectural Committee. Just add that.
To be coordinated by the Communications Committee and the Architect. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Wow, that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. The motion's carried. And I can go home without too much consternation. Okay. Wow. By the way, Dean did comment on this, and she said if she was here, she would vote no. So she told me to be sure to communicate that. I do what Dean tells me.
Let me just amend that. She also said that if you're going to have 11 on the first floor, as I recall.
Yeah.
For written comments. Thank you.
Some location, I said that, some location on the first floor. Okay, we're gonna have a fire systems update. Mr. Newman.
Okay, so we had mentioned that the chiller was 1B, and I mentioned also priority 1A is our fire alarm system. The update that we provided in the FYI the other day hasn't changed too much, but I wanted to reaffirm on where we are on a Tuesday versus last Friday. I spoke with the project manager who's installing this fire alarm system, and they again are reaffirming that they're expecting to be completed by the end of this week for a material amount of their fire alarm install. I asked for a percentage, and they said 75% of the system will be completed by Friday. They're actively engaged with our local fire marshal. They've worked with Officer Eaton, if you will. They've worked with him for a number of other projects. They're actually working with another property right across the highway that's also upgrading their Edwards 3 system to an Edwards 4 system, which is exactly what we're doing, without getting too technical. So they're already interfacing with the fire department, and we're going to be lifting the fire watch because the material nature of the installation that will be completed by Friday will alert fire alarm to the fire system to report to the fire department. What's not working? Well, somebody earlier said something about smoke detectors, and I wanted to reaffirm that within your unit, if you were to burn toast, now I'm not asking you to go test this out, but please, I'm just letting you know, because I've received this question too. Your smoke detector within your unit does work. It just doesn't tie in to the fire alarm system right now, so that's a major breakdown, but at the same time, it does work. So if you were to hear something during the night, it would at least alarm you to then evacuate the building and then also call 911 immediately. That is the name of the game. What's also not going to work, the remaining 25%, is the enunciators. So what's been driving us crazy over the years are those beeps that are going on within the buildings related to the ECS system. Well, the interesting thing is that that's the system that's not going to be installed for another 2 weeks, which is what the noise would be within your building. So if the alarm was to go off, it would alert the fire department, it would alert the fire alarm system, it would even alert our gatehouse, it just wouldn't enunciate across the property to the building. So your building itself wouldn't be alarmed. But the fire marshal says that's okay because we're tied in 24/7, so you don't need the fire watch. I'm going to reaffirm this with our project manager later on this week. We'll update you if anything changes. But I do appreciate our contractor. They have been working night and day. They actually have to write a manual program to our specificational needs, and they are working on that too. So thank you for your patience on this, but I can't reaffirm enough, if you detect any sort of fire activity within your building or your unit, please immediately dial 911 and then notify the gatehouse as best you can so that we can push that message out to the rest of the building. We know this is not optimal. We also know that this fire alarm system did not just not work one day. This was a result of the power failure that we had and the resulting surge that came through. Our surge protector did not mobilize, and that's what shorted the system. So while we were already in preparation to upgrade this system, this is a result of that instant issue that we had on Memorial Day. I'll reaffirm we're trying to get all dollars that we can possibly for PG&E on any sort of reimbursements for the time that we've spent maybe just on the fire watch. So we're working on that angle as well too. But I invite the community or the board for any questions about where we are, but we're close, just not all the way there yet.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Now we have an open forum. Anybody got it? We've had enough discussion from the residents, I think. Cliff, all right.
Hey, before we get to Cliff, just about fire, we've been having successful fire drills this year. We had one fire drill this year. So we've been having a fire drill every fourth Thursday of the month. For June, we cannot do the building 200 fire drill as we had anticipated. We'll be pushing that out a month, and we'll try our new fire alarm system with the drill in July. So please know that we're not having one in building 200. Thanks, Lizzie.
Anything that anybody wants to bring up for the board? Cliff.
Just before we leave that, just two questions, and I know that we've been over it, but one, where is the brains to this fire system located? where are they putting in the new system?
Yeah, there's a little dungeon room called the CDX room. It's like a communications room on this first floor, and the brain of it is actually in the clubhouse, and then it connects out to all the different buildings as well.
And to clarify, if somebody were to pull the switches that are located on various floors, the fire alarm, that would not send an alarm through the building, from what you're saying. Is that correct?
As we stand today, but through Friday, we hope to have that change so that it communicates to the fire department and the fire alarm system, but it will not alert the building until we get the enunciators in place.
So that fire alarm siren or whatever in the buildings, that would not go off.
That's correct. But your localized smoke detector in your unit will go off.
Other questions? This meeting has gone on for 2 hours and 7 minutes. I think that's a record for us. And I promise we're not going to do that again, okay?
I told Daria that our board meetings go about an hour.
Yeah, Daria, it's not like this every time, I can tell you that. But I do want to bring Izzy up. She's got this lei around her neck. You want to do a hula for us, Izzy? For Hawaiian night?
Funny.
It is Hawaiian night. And she's pointing at me like, uh-oh, I'm going to get you back. So, thank you for coming. I now declare this meeting adjourned.